Hello, hello, and that cheeky music means you have now sat down to Drunk Beth's happy hour. Well, theoretically sat down. I'm sure you're doing something very interesting right now. But anyway, today we are talking about self-care and how you can define that and ways that you can practice it pretty much every day. And today I am just drinking water. Maybe after the refill, I'll be drinking something more creative. But for right now, it's just water. You've had a rough day. You've had a rough week. Maybe you're just not able to appreciate the good things that are happening around you right now. And you're trying to find a way to reconnect to your happy place. The place that you felt most comfortable. The place that just made you feel the best or relaxed or the most as yourself. You type in self-care on Google, and we're going to go to the very first link, and I'm doing this blind. It's from verywellmind.com. You click on the 5 self-care practices for every area of your life. They define self-care as self-care describes a conscious act one takes in order to promote their physical, mental, and emotional health. There are many forms self-care may take. It could be ensuring that you get enough sleep every night or stepping outside for a few minutes for some fresh air. Okay, I agree with this. And they go a little bit further in the first little blurb that's saying self-care is vital for building resilience towards those stressors in life that you can't eliminate. And I do want to piggyback on this for a second. A lot of the things that can stress you out or will stress you out, a lot of the times they are just completely outside of yourself. You're not able to change them or remove yourself from them. And when that happens, that's definitely when you need to check in with yourself. Consider what you can do for yourself to alleviate any of these stress or anxiety triggers. They break down the types of self-care between physical, social, mental, spiritual, and emotional. Okay, so I want to say for a blind clicking, these are really good resources. So we're going to build on them, and I will, of course, link this website in the show notes. The first branch is physical self-care. This is what you would need to take care of your body for it to run efficiently. It goes into some details about making sure that you know that there's a strong connection between your body and your mind. And when you're caring for your body, you'll also feel better too. When people are getting into fitness, they always worry about their food. They worry about their food first, hyper concentrate on how much food that they're eating, the types of food that they're eating. It becomes very overwhelming. I personally always tell people to be mindful of your food, yes, but don't let your food overwhelm your ability to work out. I always tell people just to work out. And I also want to precursor this saying that I worked in a gym for a couple years, and when people came to me with this question, they were already in the environment of physically working out. I would always tell people to just work out and notice how your body feels after you've eaten whatever thing. I personally, with my own body, I can't eat before I work out. And I get the most out of my workout if I do it at the crack of dawn. Like, roll out of bed, slap on my workout gear, and either go for a run or go to the gym pretty much before the sun comes up. Because if I wait until after I've eaten breakfast, I'll drink water, but I won't even drink coffee. If I consume anything that is food-like, I won't do it. I won't work out. I won't push myself as much. My body doesn't seem to accept the workout as good as it could. I'm lazy in the afternoons. Even after lunchtime, I find myself lethargic, not wanting to work out. And this is even at the peak of my fitness level when I was going to the gym 4 times a week. Pre-plague, regular, normal, every day, was able to do it type situation. I listened to my body and how it corresponded with this thing that I wanted to do. And I knew to get my fullest potential out of that situation, I let myself tell me. I also want to point out that with everything, the human body holds so many variables. Science is a practice for a reason. It's a practice because they can never definitively say 100% across the board of all of humans that this thing is going to be absolutely true every single time. They just can't. Now, I know that there are some things that are fairly consistent for the majority, so don't at me about that. And there are some things that do help the majority. I'm not going to get into the politics of that. I am just stating as a fact that there are so many variables amongst all of humanity, all humans. There is no for sure 100% thing for everyone. And especially when it deals with some kind of weight loss or self-image, or I want to just call it aesthetics. The whole body shaming thing on the extremes is horrible, but I don't want to get into that today. I'm just doing some blanket statements, okay? When it comes to your physical health and mental health, I'm not going to say that working out every day is going to make you happy. I know as a blanket statement, if you get outside, period, being in nature, period, is going to make you feel better. And we have known that humans, while safer, a smidge healthier to be inside, I'm speaking for those that have allergies to nature. I myself am allergic to nature. My daughter's very allergic to nature. Once you get inside and the air starts to get stagnant, there's a reason why in the springtime, once we're able to open windows and let some fresh air in, you're able to go outside more and actually enjoy it. There's a reason why those types of situations make you feel happier or more motivated or more inspired. You also need to recognize in these moments, how can I repeat this later to lift my spirits, to lift myself, to rise up out of whatever negativity I'm feeling at the time. So if it's putting in earbuds and running 5 miles because you are capable of 5 miles, you've done 5 miles before, 5 miles makes you happy, and you have the ability to just drop everything and run those 5 miles, do it. If it means playing video games and escaping that way, do it. And it's inside. Hey, video games still raise your heart rate, and that's a good thing. I mean, there are some studies. And the physical can also include getting enough sleep. And feeling tired all the time does not equate to getting more sleep. I want to clear that up too. You can feel overtired if you are getting too much sleep. You can feel too tired if you're emotionally strained and your body is constantly running programs in the background. I think that's a good analogy. Think of your body as a cell phone. You have all these apps. You have all these tabs open. You have all of these possibilities within yourself. And if your anxiety or stressors are constantly running in the background, your battery starts to run down. And once your battery starts to run down, the health of the phone is bad. Constantly having stuff running in the background and draining your battery conditions your battery to not have the longevity that it could have. Yeah. That's a good analogy. And the website says, when it comes to physical self-care, ask yourself the following questions to access where there might be some areas you need to improve. Are you getting adequate sleep? Is your diet fueling your body well? Are you taking charge of your health? Are you getting enough exercise? Okay, so I kind of touched on these already. The exercise itself is kind of a wash, but it does make a big difference. By exercise, I don't mean spend 2 hours at the gym making yourself uncomfortable and all that. Yeah, let's just look at this as getting enough exercise, as reminding yourself to stretch when you feel like you're curving into yourself. I'm having a posture issue right now. You can look up Yoga with Adrienne. I will link her in the show notes. She is on YouTube. She's free. It is free yoga. I'm not telling you to exercise for size reasons. I'm telling you to exercise for mental stability reasons. Yoga's no joke. Even if you half-ass it for 15 minutes a day or twice a week or once a week, mentally you'll find the differences. And I'm sending you to Yoga with Adrienne because not only does she help you get into a healthy mindset, she uses yoga as a mental flex while you physically flex. She has all levels. I mean, you're going to get lost on her YouTube. There's 500 plus videos probably. They're all geared to all different things. If you only want to commit to 10 minutes or you only have 30 minutes, just do it. And she has ability levels, so don't be too intimidated. And honestly, if you start doing yoga and it's not your thing, that's cool too. But now you know. because you tried it, and I'm proud of you. And for the physical aspect of it, it could be as simple as parking farther away from your business, wherever you work. When you're out shopping, park the farthest back you can in the parking lot. Go to the mall and window shop for 2 hours because you're walking. That's more steps. When you're on vacation, you walk so much. That needs to be credited for fitness because honestly, it counts. It all counts. Step 2 is social self-care. Socializing, the website says, socializing is a key to self-care, but often it's hard to make time for friends and it's easy to neglect your friendships when life gets busy. Close connections are important to your well-being. The best way to cultivate and maintain close relationships is to put time and energy into building your relationships with others. Okay, so the website only really talks about the positive side, which, okay, I hear you. I get it. But I want to talk about social self-care in a way that's not exactly about the pros, but can address the cons as well. I am a big introvert. I'm happy at home alone or sitting in my front yard to myself. I like to socialize in ways that I can control. And, okay, that sounds toxic. But what I mean is when I scroll on TikTok for an hour, and I watch these people's videos, they're real human beings somewhere else. My brain tells me I'm socializing. I know I'm not alone in this. I just haven't really heard anybody else say it out loud like that. I can socialize without other people knowing, other than me reacting to their videos or me scrolling on Facebook and commenting on somebody that I do know in person and we talk online. I can socialize like that. I don't physically have to be near you, and I get all the benefits that extroverts get when they're in a crowded club dancing on everybody or having loud conversations with a dozen or so people. I get the same gratification sitting on my couch, scrolling through social media, communicating with people that I will probably never meet face to face. Not everyone is like this, and that's fine. I know that socially, in a group of face-to-face people, there's no filter, I can't rewrite that comment before I send it kind of thing. When I talk to people face-to-face, that stresses me out completely. And I just know that there's going to be a time where I say something or do something that's going to piss somebody off. They're not going to tell me directly. They're going to tell everybody else around me. And usually it's something that they could address to me personally and we can constructively talk about it and work through it. Or maybe they could just tell me, hey, you said this thing that pissed me off. Fuck you very much. We never should talk about it again. And I'd be like, okay, that's kind of harsh, but cool. Thank you for that. Maybe I'll refrain from saying X, Y, and Z again. But the whole what ifs, the maybes, the potential of what could be stresses me out beyond repair. I just can't, I'm just not sure how to be in social situations that could possibly make me feel less about myself. So, using this information about myself, I know that my social self-care hinges on avoiding large groups. But also, I do a lot of things that involve the public. I do vendor events. I organize vendor events. And to do that, I have to communicate with groups of people. It's not one-sided. I'm not just receiving their information and that be that. There has to be a give and take. So in practice, I just try to be aware of myself, how I'm speaking to people, how they're receiving that information, and I do checkups. If I feel like whatever I did upset them, I give them the opportunity to tell me. I come up to them in private. I say, hey, did I piss you off the other day when I said this? Or when I said this to you, the look on your face made me think that I upset you. Is that true? And if it is true, how can I clarify the situation or possibly make you not upset? And sometimes they're not going to tell me. And at that point, if they say, no, you didn't upset me, it was something else, or I'm fine, I leave it at that. I leave it at that. If they're still upset with me and they don't want to address it with me, Or maybe in the moment, they took my words a certain way, but after they thought about it, they were fine with it, or they realized they were projecting because I reminded them of somebody else that actually meant that thing in a certain way. I leave it at that. If they don't want to talk about it, they don't want to grow on it, or they want to just move on from it, that's fine. If they do want to talk about it, they do want to build on it, it is something directly affiliated with me and not a projection or a cross-contamination, I'm open to that too. But without that meeting somebody face to face about it, I'd stress out about it and have panic attacks about it and dream about it and think about it at midnight when I'm trying to close my eyes and finally shut my brain off. So I encourage you to do that. This practice works personal, professional. Come to people with zero hostility in private. I encourage face-to-face. I know that it can't always happen, but maybe a phone call, maybe a FaceTime if that's your thing. But sometimes I know that you have to say it through text. And as I said, I also socialize mainly online with quote-unquote strangers. They're not all strangers. Some of them have actually become my friends. I just have never physically been in the same room as them. But you get what I'm saying. Whatever way that you are able to circle back with them that is acceptable. I mean, I'm not saying knock on their door and be like, hey, we need to talk about this thing. I want it to be convenient for everybody because you don't need to spring up on them. Be like, hey, we need to talk about the thing that really upset you. Because that's not the energy I'm trying to bring here. Honestly, that type of conversation can be self-care. Okay, and for this one, it says, to assess your self-care, consider, are you getting enough face-to-face time with your friend? And what are you doing to nurture your relationships with friends and family? That last question. Nurturing your friendships are also a form of self-care because I have to look at it like myself. I'm bad at connecting with people on a consistent way. I mean, life takes over. I'm neurodivergent, so I can literally lose a week's time span. I've opened text messages before and realized that I had typed the message, but did not send the message, and it had been a week or 2 weeks. My worst is a month. So I send that message to continue that conversation, and I'll follow up with an apology because it's true. I do this often. So I know myself, I do this. So when there's a friend that hasn't talked to me at all in weeks, maybe not even on social media, or I have to check their account to see if maybe they blocked me. Usually the steps that I take when I haven't spoke to someone in a while, and this is not talking to somebody in a while and feeling that it wasn't from me, it was from them. Like maybe I've messaged them a few times and they haven't responded, or I asked them a question through whatever form of social media. Maybe I've called them and they didn't answer, but I don't really call people, so that doesn't really apply to me. You know, just in general, you're feeling that this person is ignoring you. Let's just boil it down to that. You feel like this person is ignoring you. The steps that I take is I look up their social media to see if they have blocked me, because that's a form of hostility. If they are blocking you, and you can always tell if they've deleted their account or unfriended you. And we have like 20 forms of social media now, guys. So you can really cyber stalk them for a bit to see if you have been removed from all aspects of their life. Some people go through phases. I have a friend that constantly deletes her Facebook. She only goes to Instagram for a little while. Sometimes she'll delete Instagram and go back to Facebook. She's not very active on any other social media platform that I know of. For the social media platform that I have communicated with them through, if I don't feel like they've blocked me or made some kind of post about, hey guys, I'm taking a break, or work's overwhelming me, social media is overwhelming me, I'm feeling some type of way that I am not going to be on social media for a while, or I'm having financial troubles, my phone got cut off. If they're not saying anything like that publicly and I'm not blocked, I think, okay, what other ways can I communicate with them? Or do I know a mutual friend that I can passively ask, hey, do you know about so-and-so? Are they doing okay? I realized that I couldn't connect with them on Facebook anymore, or whatever. The mutual friend might be like, oh, I talked to him yesterday, blah, blah, blah is happening. Or they changed their phone number because of this reason. I'll talk to them and see if I can give you the new number. That type of thing. And usually it's not I did something. It's something's happening in their life. Something has overwhelmed them in a way that I just kind of faded into the background. It happens. And don't take it personally, because think about times in your life where you've changed jobs. Maybe your kids are going back to school and you're very active in their school, or you've taken on a side gig, or maybe something's going on with your family that just puts a roaring in your ears and you can't hear or do anything past that. And the only thing that you've had time for is to draw yourself a bubble bath and get away from it. And when you get away from it, you cut everything out. Maybe you deleted all of your social medias and you've been reading books on print to completely separate yourself from the online avalanche that can happen. Maybe you're planning a wedding and everything about the wedding is what you're focusing on, so you don't have time for drinks on Thursdays anymore, so you stop going. Like, stuff like that. For my self-care, to alleviate some of my social anxiety, I consider these options when I am upset that someone possibly be ignoring me. And on the darker side of that is maybe you do check their social media and they have blocked you. Maybe you did upset them. Maybe you triggered them in a way that they would just rather not communicate with you anymore. And this is when the previous that I mentioned, that conversation can happen. Maybe you can reach out to them via their phone number or another social media if you know where they're there, and just be like, hey, I noticed you blocked me on this other thing, and I just want to know if I upset you in some way and if there's a way that I can make it right, because I do miss your friendship. And I'm sorry it took me so long to notice, or whatever. And if they don't respond to you, they don't respond to you. But you did what you could do, and that's good. That's good enough. And that's the way it has to be. Send that one message. And if they still haven't responded, I'd say check in maybe once or twice, but space it out by days, maybe even weeks, because maybe they are going through some shit with some other people. Maybe you're a mutual friend of somebody that they're having problems with, and they just don't want to pile on the negativity by telling you, like, actually, I didn't feel like you were a true friend because you're friends with so-and-so. You need to consider people's variables in the situations in their life, and then assess how you want to feel about it and move on, because you cannot force someone to like you. You cannot force someone to be in your life. I know that may be a shocker to some of you, and other people are like, well, yeah, no shit, Beth, no surprises here, but it has to be said, okay? That's just for your consideration. And step 3, they're talking about mental self-care. And the first little intro sentence is, the way that you think and the things that you are filling your mind with greatly influences your physiological well-being. So essentially, mental self-care includes keeping your mind sharp, according to them. And that's with puzzles, learning, expanding your mind on subjects that fascinate you. Okay, yeah, I went through this a few years ago, right after I had my youngest. He's 5 now. We're creeping up on him turning 6. I just felt numb. I felt dumb. I guess this is the most simple way to put it. Is I just felt like an idiot. I felt dull, not dull as in boring, but dull as in not sharp, not a sharp knife. So I went back to school, and before I went back to school, I started watching Jeopardy. I downloaded all these mind flexing apps. I started reading more. I started playing trivia games. I needed to stretch the proverbial rubber band of my brain. I needed to flex a little. This is also something to consider. You can look at it as challenging yourself, but also while you're challenging yourself, you need to practice self-compassion and acceptance. And that also helps with the mental self-care. For mental self-care, you can even consider listening to podcasts, because you learn something new, you hear a different perspective, your brain is considering somebody else's opinions, and your brain is reacting to them. You're using your mental muscles to compute information that you may have not typically thought about on your own. I listen to a lot of history podcasts about things in the past. They help me understand things that are happening currently. And this is when I interrupt myself with myself. I'm here to tell you about my Patreon. That's patreon.com/drunkbeth. And join Adam, Teddy, and Amanda in supporting this podcast. Every dollar counts. And that's it. Back to the show. Stuff like that. mental self-care can be integrated into your everyday life. Podcasts are good on the go. Maybe you use public transportation, so you read your book on the bus, things like that. For the questions for considering your mental self-care, they offer these questions. Are you making enough time for activities that mentally stimulate you? The second one is, are you doing proactive things to help you stay mentally healthy? Yeah, I feel like that's pretty self-explanatory. And you have to proactively do these things unless maybe you have a job that is very challenging and is very stimulating, and your form of self-care is coming home and taking a step back. You watch mindless television or listen to music that doesn't have lyrics because you have just been so bombarded at work. Maybe it's so loud in your head and you have to do these long algorithms and mathematical equations, and you work with numbers and you're very stimulated at work. So when you come home, you need to take a break from that. That would be the other side. They don't really address that on the website, so I'm filling that in for you. When I worked in radio, I loved radio. It was very challenging. I learned how to work a soundboard. I used to know some of the engineering side because I lived close enough. The engineer would call me in the middle of the night when things went bad at the station, and he lived an hour and a half away. On the other hand, my life was music and the contraptions that made you hear music in your car. So when I came home, I listened to a lot of music that wasn't produced out of this country, and I listened to a lot of music that the radio station did not play in-house. We had 5 different studios, 5 different call numbers in the same building. A lot of people don't know that about radio, so spoiler alert, I guess. Out of these 5 very different types, that was just the way my station was run. I'm sure that there's some stations that do maybe all the same. I'm not sure. In my radio station, we had 5 very different call numbers that did very different music. I would bypass them all because I heard them all at once walking through the halls, pretty much. When I did any work for those stations, I would hear their call numbers and the sweepers in my head constantly. And to avoid and evade those things, I didn't listen to the radio in my car. I only listened to streaming type music. That wasn't a term back then, but it was streaming music. A lot of the times I listened to music that wasn't in my same language. I only know English. I'm that type of American. But I enjoyed music out of the Middle East, and I love jazz music out of New Orleans. I liked music from the 1930s. Across all genres, because the genres have really evolved since the 1930s, I'm telling you. I listened to a lot of Baroque classical music. I was a classically trained choral singer for a long that was what I did in college. I do not sing. I am not a singer. I mean, I sing like Linda from Bob's Burgers, but I am not that side of music. I'm not. Put me behind a mic and I'll talk your ear off, but I'm not a singer. But yeah, now that I've kind of veered off into a tangent, that would be a good example of just mental self-care. It even boils down to motherhood. My mom never listened to music growing up. Every time she was in her car, she would turn it off. But thinking back on it as an adult, looking at her as an adult in that moment, she ran a daycare out of her house. I only have 2 kids. She took care of up to 12 kids, guys. Up to 12. It was loud in the house. I feel like we were fairly well behaved, but still, kids generate noise. They're just loud, constantly making noise. I only have 2 kids, and they are constantly talking to each other, talking to themselves, making weird noises with their mouths. They're little noisemakers. I love them dearly, but kids are noisy. So for her to practice mental self-care, when she got a moment by herself, when she was just in her car and it was just her, she'd turn that off. She'd turn the noise off. When you do something for yourself like that, you need to check in and be like, wow, I did that for myself because I'm worth it. And that little moment of you realizing that you're doing something for yourself becomes that moment of ownership, that you're worth it. You're valid. You're perfect within yourself as yourself. Okay, and step 4, spiritual self-care. Okay. I'm just gonna read it, and then I'm gonna give you my personal opinion on it because yeah. Okay. So number 4, spiritual self-care. And I'm reading right from the website. Research shows that a lifestyle including religion or spirituality is generally a healthier lifestyle. Nurturing your spirit, however, doesn't have to involve religion. It can involve anything that helps you develop a deeper sense of meaning, understanding, or connection to the universe. Whether you enjoy meditation, attending a religious service, or praying, spiritual care is important. As you consider your spiritual life, ask yourself, what questions do you ask yourself about your life and experience? Are you engaging in spiritual practices that you find fulfilling? Okay, so let's unbox this. You do not need a religion to make yourself feel better. Honestly, religion is the opposite of self-care. Okay, so if I upset you, thanks for showing up. Have a great life. If you still want to listen, awesome. On my worst days, I consider myself atheist. On my best days, I consider myself a witchy spiritualist. I will say, though, checking into your inner self, your inner spirit, considering you yourself. We can even go into the Church of Satan. I'm going to link them because from a spiritual, agnostic, atheist perspective, I love how the Church of Satan puts this into perspective. And if I've already lost you and you're very upset about Satan and Satanism, I highly encourage you to look at this website and liberate yourself from your closed off thing. Okay, so now that we've veered off to the Church of Satan, I'm going to read from their frequently asked questions. It says, why do Satanists worship the devil? And their answer is simply, we don't. Satanists are atheists. We see the universe as being indifferent to us. And so all morals and values are subjective human constructions. Our position is to be self-centered with ourselves, being the most important person, the quote-unquote God, of our subjective universe. So we are sometimes said to worship ourselves. Our current high priestess Gilmore calls this step moving from being an atheist to being an I-theist. Satan to us is a symbol of pride, liberty, and individualism, and it serves as an external metaphorical projection of our highest personal potential. We do not believe in Satan as a being or a person. Okay, so thinking about spiritual self-care and tying it in with the Church of Satanists' idea of I-theist, I love it. Now, I know that the term self-centered makes you automatically think narcissist, but no. I was on Clubhouse. It's an app that I'm on lately. It helps you develop your business, and it's a very good hive mind pool of information. There was a dude up there talking about his business and his theology and what he believes and how he moves forward in life. He put it like, I can't eat a prayer sandwich. I need actual food to nurture my body. So he uses his philanthropy as a doing, not a talking about. He wants to do it. He wants to put it in the world. He wants it to be tangible, and he wants it to actually functionally help others. So to me, for my spiritual care, I don't want you to pray about me. I want you to help me physically. Help me in a way that is tangible. And by tangible, I mean, if I'm having a bad day, reach out to me. Love it. Or if I'm down on my luck, there was a time in my life where our water got shut off. So I sold everything in the house to get our water turned back on. There was somebody in the community that didn't want to pray for me. They helped to get our water back on. They helped us before our power got shut off. And to return the favor, I didn't pray for their organization. I baked 300 muffins. I cooked 300 cookies. And I dropped it off at the food kitchen because I could do that. I was able to, and I had the ability through my government assistance, because I've been on government assistance. If you have trouble with somebody that has been on food stamps, keep your opinion to yourself because you're hot trash. These types of government assistant programs actually help people. And you know what? 99.9% of them need it for survival. It is a requirement for them to get out of their situation. So if your spiritual self-care is praying for people and only praying for people, I want to challenge you to not donate to your church. Donate to your local food kitchen. Donate to somewhere that you can actually see it helping them. I'm no longer on those programs, those government programs. But if I needed them again, I would apply for them. And the only thing I really want to touch on this extra is religion is a band-aid at best. I want you to see your spiritual self-care as what you can do for you, not how a church can manipulate you into thinking you're being better. I don't know how to say that better. I do have friends that are religious. I follow a couple reverends on TikTok, but it takes a very special kind of people that I want in my circle that believes in a higher power. I'm just going to leave it at that because a lot of the vibes and energy and spirituality that I feel that I can identify with leans real heavy into the Church of Satan and being a solitary practicing witch. That's just the way I feel. If you're hyper involved in your organized religion, that's cool, I guess. I probably just ruined your day. If you're really involved in your organized religion and it works out for you and you're not turning away gay people for just loving other consenting adults or kicking out your gay children or talking mad shit about trans people, you do you, I guess. And I know, like, I grew up in the church. I understand. You feel a type of way when you're in a group of people all singing the same song. I just want you to take that feeling in a way that helps you do better for yourself and your society and not just say that you are. I'm gonna leave it at that because I'm trying to be positive here. This is a happy-go-lucky episode. Okay. And we're just gonna go right into emotional self-care because they're the same. They're the same. Those two things are the same. They just are. I'm gonna read it verbatim. I'm gonna read the whole thing so we can compare these two because this is where me and, let's see who wrote this, Elizabeth Scott, MS, just veer off separately. She has a lot of great ideas, but the spiritual religious one just, no, that's toxic. Okay. So, I really didn't mean for this episode to be dissecting just one website, but here we go. This is what we're doing today. And let this also be a moment where we can recognize that you don't have to have initials after your name to be right all the time. Human variables, we're all different. And I also want to say that this website, for the most part, has been very helpful, and I don't see where it would be a negative impact on somebody other than that saying that you need a religion. That really upsets me. But anyway, I'm not the website very well mind. Maybe I should Google it, or maybe I should delve a little deeper. I'm just going to read it. Step 5 is emotional self-care. It's important to have healthy coping skills to deal with uncomfortable emotions like anger, anxiety, and sadness. Emotional self-care may include activities that help you acknowledge and express your feelings on a regular basis, whether you talk to a partner or close friend about how you feel, or you set aside time for leisure activities that help you process your emotions. It's important to incorporate emotional self-care to your life. When assessing your emotional self-care strategies, consider these questions. Do you have healthy ways to process your emotions? Do you incorporate activities into your life that help you feel recharged? So yes, I'm going to just clump 4 and 5 together, and we're just going to sidestep the whole religion bullshit because I can't. I just can't with that. I won't. Okay, so emotional care. Basically, through all of these steps, I've given you some tools. And on Twitter, if you follow me on Twitter, I'm at the Drunk Beth. Every Sunday, I'm going to be posting the hashtag Self-Care Sunday. And if you're in the group on Facebook, I am always considering self-care and how you can build on that and what it means for you. I did a live stream on Twitch this past week. I got a few ideas from that. The ideas that were thrown out from the live stream were getting a pedicure, dyeing your hair, starting your gender affirmation therapy. Those are very good ideas to help you. I would like to take that a step further and suggest some kind of self-affirmations or mantras should be tied in to self-care somehow. I want to tell you some things that have really helped me in the past and in the present. In general, they may not work for everybody, but again, we're all variables. We contain multitudes. We're all different individuals. For me, I struggled very much with self-loathing. I still battle depression, but it feels different now than what it did before. So for me, I tried to isolate the specifics. What specifically bothered me about myself? What specifically was I having issues with? Can I fix it? Come to find out, I couldn't fix it. I couldn't lose enough weight. I couldn't look fit enough for myself. Now we have a term called body dysmorphia. I came to the conclusion I needed to be able to face myself and feel a certain way about myself. Sober. Gonna throw that out there. Sober. And I decided that I would write a note to myself in the mirror and read it every day. And it was something good. I took a song lyric. I took a motivational quote that I found on the internet. Just a positive quote that I felt was relevant to me in the moment. I would either directly write it on the mirror or I would put a sticky note, something like that. This suggestion happens a lot in all self-care books, but it works if you do it in a practice. Change up the quote if you feel like it's not relevant anymore. Don't put 500 quotes up there, guys. Don't overwhelm yourself looking at these quotes for 5 hours and not finding one that fits for you. If you can come up with your own quote, do it. Don't self-doubt yourself. You're doing this for yourself, so your limitations are of yourself. I put the quote up there. It was usually a song lyric because music is my life. And looked at the quote often. And then also, if I caught myself reading the quote or I caught myself looking at myself, my internal dialogue would start firing off, usually saying the negative things. So I decided for every one negative thing I said about myself, I would compliment myself as if I was a different person. That is important. You have to disassociate yourself from your negativity to get a better mindset about yourself. So I would look at myself, say whatever the negative thing was, and then immediately think, you have stunning eyes. I love your shirt. Or you have great posture right now. Or maybe your makeup is looking stunning today. And either say it out loud, which I feel is more powerful. Saying things out loud puts them out in the world in a physical way. There are people that live on this earth that can physically see sound, and to me that makes it solid. I challenge you this week, every time you see yourself, say something positive about yourself. If you aren't quite comfortable saying it aloud yet, I want you to say it twice as much in your mind. And if it feels like you don't believe it, you need to stick to whatever that compliment was. If it's, you're looking very fit today, you're looking stunning, you're a beautiful bitch. I mean, it can literally be anything. Whatever you're comfortable with. If you're not comfortable with calling yourself a bitch in a positive manner, pick something else. You look confident today. You look amazing. I discovered after I did this for a while, I caught myself looking at my reflection in public spaces thinking, damn, she fine. Or damn, I wish I was more like her. And then I realized it was me. I was looking at me. I know what some of you guys are thinking. That's pretty narcissist. And especially if you want to spin on the sexism side of this. Men, if you're listening, I hope that you're of liberal mind because I'm about to ruin your day if not. Women have been told for so long, it's a social conditioning for us to not be aware of how attractive we are, or that we can be attractive in different ways, or we can be equally attractive but appear different. And for the longest time, the male society, and yes, I'm clumping them all together, it doesn't matter what sexuality they are or whatever, I'm talking about the trickle down economy of social standards because it fucking sucks. The male aspect of our society who has controlled all of the ads, the way people are supposed to look in magazines, the way women are supposed to be perceived in society. They have all told women that we are not supposed to take ownership on our well-being, the way we see ourselves. We're not supposed to own our sexuality, and we're not supposed to feel attractive as ourselves, for ourselves, to ourselves. And you can unpack that. Maybe I'll make another episode to unpack that statement. But if you feel guilty looking at yourself in the mirror and saying, you look amazing today, that dress isn't making you attractive. You're making that dress look attractive. If you feel guilty having those thoughts about yourself, you need to sidestep and realize you feel guilty through conditioning, and it's not a valid reason to avoid complimenting yourself or accepting a compliment. When somebody says, wow, you look great today, just saying thank you. And I also want to challenge you, if somebody does compliment you, I'm not saying catcalling, that is a whole different subject. And if you're a woman, you know the difference. If somebody is complimenting you, like a genuine compliment, I want to challenge you to say a compliment back to them. This is a practice that I did in customer service. And let me tell you, and specifically, I geared it towards women. I mean, equality. Men deserve some compliments too. And again, catcalling is completely different. I am not talking about catcalling somebody. I'm talking about in a mutual situation that is conducive to both. Maybe you know this person already, or you're in a customer service situation where you're already having a conversation or receptive of each other in some way. Don't walk up. I mean, you can walk up to a complete stranger, but you have to have poise about it. Not catcalling. Again, not catcalling. And I want you to be like, hey, I love your shirt. You're looking great today. What hue of lipstick is that? Something. You will see their entire face light up. Or if they come up to you and they're like, wow, I love your hair. You should look at them and be like, thank you. I love your handbag. Or your shoes are great. Or your makeup is stunning today. Something. You can find something after glancing at somebody for just a couple seconds. And maybe it's a selfish compliment. A selfish compliment can be something that you yourself feel some kind of insecurity about. Maybe you hate the way shirts fit you, but you notice that you really like a certain cut of shirt, or maybe someone that seems similar body shape as you is really rocking an outfit. Say, hey, I love your shirt. Where did you get it from? Can I get it too? Or you look amazing in that. Can you tell me more about it? Stuff like that. Because then the more you recognize things about other people that you like, you will start to see that in the mirror. Because maybe you are just wearing the wrong cut of shirt, or maybe you're wearing the wrong color. Maybe you're wearing the wrong color for your complexion, but you see somebody else with a similar complexion wearing a color that you don't have in your wardrobe right now. Maybe you can adapt that. And by complimenting them, you're building a bridge to them to find out where they found that item of clothing, maybe how you can adapt their confidence in that color for yourself. Now, again, if you're feeling guilty about being a little dabbling into the gray area of narcissism, this isn't because you actually are. It is a social thing. This is a societal standard guilt that's being forced on you. Now, there are real narcissists out there, and there is real self-centered, egotistical maniacs, but I really feel like those types of people do not feel guilt about feeling these ways. And they don't even acknowledge their self-centered, self-love, self-ego magnetism thing because they don't think about it. They just do it. I'm talking about the people that feel guilty in the moment for these things because you are not the narcissist. You are not the egomaniac. You're the person that's trying to develop feelings for yourself in a way that makes you feel better on a different day. You really should consider that. And I'm already going to plug the next episode because I feel like this episode would be a fantastic segue into what I call self-dating. And yes, you can date yourself while married. You can date yourself while you're single and not looking, or single and looking. You can date yourself when you're feeling lonely and not able, I'm not going to say not able to find a mate, but maybe you're not finding a mate that would be functional and beneficial to you. I remember dating and I'm not a fan. But it's one of those things that you can't necessarily avoid. I hope you guys are having a great day. And thank you so much for hanging out with me for this long. I hope you have a lovely week and check me out on all social medias. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, Facebook. You can just search for Drunk Beth or hashtag Drunk Beth and you will positively find me. Have a fantastic week.